no matter how much business owners try to be approachable, there's still an intimidation factor.
There
And
is.
so one of the things that we found, and even for BCBAs, there's still an intimidation factor with approaching your supervisor with a question or with feedback or anything like that. So one of the things that we started with our company, and I love the person who created this. She's currently our scheduler. She doesn't even live in Colorado anymore, but we were like, you have to stay. You have to stay with us. And it's because she gets it. She's been in the trenches. She's worked in different agencies where the behavior technicians' voices were not heard. And so she proposed several years ago a position for a behavior technician or RBT advocate.
Yeah.
So it's somebody who is a peer who's essentially there to be that liaison, right? And it's one of the best things for our company that we've had established. And I want to say it's been since like 2021 that we've had it. And it's fantastic. It's now no longer that person. She's our scheduler who lives in South Carolina, but we have another RBT who is. And she's newer to the position, but she gets it, right? She understands like there needs to be a space to express what's going on so that you can feel safe expressing yourself without fear of retribution, even if it's written in your handbook that there will be no retaliation, right?
Right. No, I mean, so many people, well, even a lot of these texts that, when we looked for the social media posts and did some reactions on them, they went from one bad ABA company to another bad ABA company to another bad ABA company. And some are like, okay, well, this is ABA. And then they make their assumptions off of that. Or, well, I just thought this is how you were supposed to do it. And maybe then they landed in a better ABA company. And then, I'm going to have a hard time trusting this, right? And then, if you do get to that point where you're able to learn and you see, oh, this is how it should be, then there's some grieving and sadness for the previous.
For what you did, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I find too with that shift, like when we were talking about the self-reflection piece that we do at the beginning of our process. So like once somebody's hired with us, they start their 40-hour training, and we do an in-house, in-person, well, it's hybrid because it's a lot of things that I've said, but then our lead trainer goes through everything with them. And then we do actual like client shadow sessions. But while they're doing this 40-hour training process, that's also when they're assigned this self-evaluation and behavior intervention plan, right? Because what we find is that if that's difficult to do and you can't put in place those coping skills, right, to help get you through those moments, you're going to burn out really quickly. You're going to not be able to show up for your clients and your learners and your families, or you're going to start carrying it home with you. And then you're not going to be sleeping at night, right? And then you're going to start becoming reactive, going to those default strategies that from when you were raised. You're going to stop relying on the science, stop relying on the behavior intervention plan for that client. And it's really just because you aren't assessing and evaluating and responding to your own behavior. And so if in that 40-hour training process, we find that to be a barrier, we will also usually find that then that person typically isn't then going to be in the capacity to do this job. And again, when we look at our code of ethics, this is something that we actually have to be holding accountable for, right? And I think that we've struggled for so long with how do we do this? How do we account for this behavior? We're just going to tell them they don't have a job? Well, that might be the thing. It might be that if they've been with you for longer than 6 months, FMLA might be the best option for them because there are barriers to being able to ethically be able to provide the service that you're claiming to be able to provide. And I look to Camille Kolu, who's also here in Colorado. She's fantastic. She has done so much research in the world of trauma And she has for a long time, since well before trauma-informed care became a buzzword. And she is one of those people who has lived it, she recognizes it, she knows it, and it's one of those experiences that she will share with vulnerability because she recognizes how important it is that we are accounting for how much trauma impacts behavior, but more importantly, how much trauma can also impact our caregivers' behaviors, right? And the behavior technicians' behaviors. So something that is from Nadine Burke-Harris's work, but also from Camille Kolu's, is the 6 buffers. So nutrition, exercise, sleep, relationships, coping skills, and access to mental health. So therapy, right? And then those coping skills, that's that behavior intervention plan. Something else that we do with our companies, we have a resource wall that just has QR codes that are full of, like, if you need access to a food pantry, or if you need help like with creating a recipe, so like low cost things like that, grocery lists. We also provide snacks and food at our center so that it's free access to anybody who needs it, right, without any question. But then we also make sure that they have access to readily accessible like mindfulness exercises. We have like our trails that are nearby here in Colorado where they can easily take a break and like go for a walk in between sessions, or access to low cost or free online mental health providers as well. So providing access to these tools is often something that's just necessary to just know almost that it's there as a resource, because I find that often people are just, they don't know how much support is actually out there because it's overwhelming.
Well, and when you're in that spot, it's even
You're frozen.
Unless it's there right in front. Even sometimes when it's given to you, it's hard to take that next step. So if you're already in the overwhelm and you don't even know how to, sometimes you don't even know what to look for, how to look for it. So that's amazing. I want to come work for your company. It sounds like a really great place to work. I like that the focus is of taking care of your people.